The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild took the internet by storm during E3 this year. It was easily the most talked about game when looking at social media analytics, and as a Zelda fan myself, I was no stranger to this hype. However, as I spent the next 2 hours watching footage of the game and discussing it with others, I began to grow a bit skeptical. The new direction Nintendo seems to be going in looks awesome, but the more I watched and thought about the game, the more I could think of potential problems caused by Nintendo's design choices. In this video, I will identify these problems as well as go over a few hopes I have for the game. And before you slam down your keyboard ready to tell me how much of a Zelda heretic I am, please remember that this game isn't out yet and I'm making a lot of assumptions that can, and hopefully will be, proven wrong. Nintendo has prided itself on the size of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. I've heard many different reports, from Breath of the Wild's world being 12 times the size of Twilight Princess to it being 7 times the size of Skyrim. And while this has made everyone, including me, incredibly excited, it also presents a big problem: repetitiousness and emptiness. While the demo we were shown was definitely not empty, Zelda has had a history with large, empty overworlds. From Wind Waker's Great Sea to Twilight Princess's Hyrule Field, we've seen worlds that are large, but still worlds without much to do. And though we were shown that Breath of the Wild has a lot to do in its overworld, these activities were all very similar in nature. For the most part, it was just, oh look, a camp, let's raid it, over and over and over again. And sure, it looked like fun, but there hits a point in which you do the same thing so many times that it just gets boring. I'm gonna make some comparisons to Skyrim throughout this video. Partly because Breath of the Wild has been compared to it a lot already, and partly because I've been replaying it recently. In Skyrim, fighting dragons the first few times feels amazing, but eventually that excitement dies down and that fight just occurs to get it over with. This repetition was part of the reason I stopped watching the livestream. I had felt like I'd seen all there really was to do within the first 30 minutes, and after that they just keep hammering away at how open world their new game is. Well, that, and I was jealous that they were playing the game and I wasn't. My next big problem pertains to shrines and dungeons. Throughout the E3 demo, we were shown many shrines but no dungeons. I will say I like the idea of the world having plenty of little shrines to explore and complete. However, the main problem here is that it seems that Nintendo is valuing quantity before quality with this new Zelda game. At E3, dungeons were only slightly mentioned by the Treehouse staff. However, a ton of time is dedicated to these little shrines, and while they seemed okay, nothing about them really blew my mind. They just seemed like a dungeon for a single puzzle or mechanic. As of now, we know that there are going to be over 100 of these shrines in the game. How many dungeons in the game? Well, we really don't know yet. I'm just worried that they won't put many in the game because they think the shrines will account for them. I don't mind these shrines being in the game, as long as they aren't there at the expense of less dungeons. In Skyrim, there are probably over 100 dungeons which are roughly the size of these shrines or bigger. That's a lot of content. However, after delving into Skyrim for over 250 hours, I can hardly remember a single one. One of the things I love about Zelda is how memorable and elaborate its dungeons are. I know that Nintendo is trying to move away from Zelda conventions in this new game, but if they move too far away, they can lose a lot of what makes Zelda special in exchange for a bigger game. Another major thing Nintendo has been trying to do with Zelda is to make it non-linear. This can easily be seen in a link between worlds that use its item store to allow players to complete dungeons in any order. However, from what we've heard about Breath of the Wild, is that not only is there no required order for dungeons, there's no required order for anything. Apparently, you can walk right from where Link wakes up to the final boss without having to do anything. And while obviously this isn't recommended, it is possible. The big problem with this is it allows the game's progression to get completely ruined. From what I've seen, there's no leveling up in Breath of the Wild, so the only thing that's stopping the player from taking on harder enemies is their own gear. This leaves room for a major exploit. All a player would need to do is survive a harder area long enough to kill one enemy and take its weapon. Then they could fight at a level in which they are on par with the rest of the area to continue getting better gear. This allows for the player to skip major portions of the game, as well as allowing them to make easier areas of the game a complete joke. Most open world and non-linear games have some requirements to be completed before going straight to the end of the game. Nintendo's choice to make Breath of the Wild so non-linear essentially allows the entire game to become completely optional. In my opinion, I think giving the player this much freedom will hurt the game's pacing. However, I'm sure speedrunners and people who want to challenge themselves will love this. When the game comes out, I could be completely wrong and this no requirements choice could work really well for the game, but for now, I'm not behind it. Anyways, I think we've had enough negativity for this video. Let's get into my hopes for Breath of the Wild. One of the coolest things they showed off at E3 was the Wolf Link amiibos functionality. Basically, by scanning the amiibo into the game, Wolf Link will join the player as a follower. I would like to see the functionality of this follower system used with other characters within the game, regardless of whether or not they have an amiibo. I feel like if Nintendo has already put in the time to program a party member system, they should at least put more follower characters into the game. It would be cool to team up with other races like Gorons or Zoras, or maybe even other prominent characters like Zelda herself. We've seen this sort of system before in Wind Waker with Medley and Makar, but I'd like to see this taken to the next level with party members with actually intelligent AI. Nintendo made a pretty big deal about all the different choices of weapons in Breath of the Wild. I'm incredibly behind the decision to give player different weapon choices. I always like stealing enemies' weapons in Wind Waker, and I think having the ability to store them will definitely benefit the player in terms of choices and finding the best time to use everything. One thing that specifically stood out to me is when they charged a spin attack with a spear, but instead of using a spin attack, Link stabbed the enemy repeatedly. This makes these weapons more than just a cosmetic and strength change, but also fundamentally changes the way you go about attacking enemies. I think the game could definitely benefit from many different types of weapons, and I hope they continue to add more than just the sword, axe, spear, hammer, and staff we've seen so far. I think it would be really neat to see more staffs, a mace, and maybe the ball and chain from Twilight Princess. Another incredibly cool thing they showed off was the Sheikah Slate, which sort of serves as a magic tome for Link. They showed off some cool powers like stopping time, magnet abilities, and generating bombs. It seems like a way to create new ways to solve puzzles without the old find item using dungeon formula. However, I think it would be cool if the Sheikah Slate could learn some offensive and defensive runes that could become commonplace in the game and not just be used for special occasions. It would be neat to see old spells like Dense Fire return from Ocarina of Time. Neru's Love could also make a good defensive spell, and this is just using already existing ideas. I really hope Nintendo just goes all out with the runes to make them feel like more than just puzzle solving. My final hope for the game is for it not only to have an abundance of shrines, but also an abundance of settlements. In the E3 demo, there were not any settlements shown. This was in order to stop them from spoiling anything. However, I think having settlements with memorable NPCs that gave you even more memorable side quests would definitely benefit this game. I know that they're going for some sort of post-Zelda apocalypse vibe, but I think, if anything, that could be used to benefit the influence of NPCs and their side quests. Maybe villagers need your help to defend them from monsters, or keep them fed. Maybe they need help rebuilding an old town. The feeling of a destroyed Hyrule can help to further flesh this world out rather than making it feel lonely. Having NPCs giving you meaningful quests could solve the aforementioned problem of repetitivity in the world, and could give the player's exploration in Hyrule a meaning. I hope that these side quests would take advantage of an actual quest log, like the Bomber's Notebook in Majora's Mask 3D. That way the player can keep track of multiple quests at once, and get worked on as many as they would like to while they're out and about Hyrule. Despite all of the fears I've mentioned earlier, I'm still incredibly excited for this game, and hope that it'll turn out great. I've been wanting a Zelda game like this for years, and I'm really glad that they're trying to do something new and going back to basics at the same time. As a whole, I think as long as Nintendo sticks close enough to its roots to give Breath of the Wild the same charm other Zeldas have, while breaking convention and giving the player more choices and freedom in how they play it, they could create quite possibly the best Zelda yet. I've been Micahsoft, thanks for watching. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. I just wanted to take a moment to say a few things. One thing on our Pokemon Go video at the very end, I very vaguely mentioned in text that there will be new videos on Fridays. That is every other Friday. So this video is going to come out 2 weeks from Pokemon Go, and there should be another video, which is going to be Davis's video, and 2 weeks from now. Davis is still working on his video. It's his first time ever making one by himself, so I've kind of been working overtime in order to have things out on a 2-week basis. That's why this video came out. That's why the Pokemon Go video came out. So yeah, but hopefully he'll get into the swing of things soon. And while you're here, I have 2 more videos for you. You can either watch more of the kind of stuff I make with my Final Fantasy VII review, or more of the stuff that Davis and I do together with the dropped console Pokemon Go adventure, whatever. It's really cringy. I'm super sorry, but I don't know, some people like it. Anyways, also if you want to go check out another channel, my friend Game Sharks also is doing a video sort of like this about Zelda. His isn't finished yet, but I'm gonna link his channel right there in the corner so you can go and watch his channel and maybe subscribe, and when his video comes out you can see his too. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy what you see, please leave a like or subscribe, and just have a good one.